What happens when a woman marries a nobody and discovers he's the most dangerous man alive? In the border pack of Greystone, where bloodlines mean everything and weakness is death, Mara Kessler is about to make the worst decision of her life. Or so everyone thinks. Her family has turned their backs. The court is laughing. Her groom has no name, no pack, no future. But when the insults go too far, he does something that will crack this kingdom wide open. Stay until the end to see how one wedding becomes a declaration of war. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city. Let's see where you're watching from. The Great Hall of Greystone stank of old wood and older grudges. Mara Kessler stood at the entrance in a dress that had belonged to her grandmother, ivory silk gone yellow at the seams, and tried to remember how to breathe. The fabric pulled tight across her ribs. She'd lost weight. 3 weeks of her mother refusing to speak to her, her father drinking himself silent every night, and her younger sister Cleo crying in the hallways like Mara had died instead of chosen differently. Maybe to them, it was the same thing. The hall was packed, not because anyone cared about her happiness. They'd come to watch her fall. Greystone wasn't the kind of pack that did quiet weddings. Every major family had sent representatives. The Harrows with their coal-black eyes and sharper tongues. The Vanes, who smiled like knives. Even the Dulanes, who lived so far north they barely counted as part of the territory anymore, had made the trip. All of them here for the same reason, to see Mara Kessler marry a nobody. She forced herself to walk forward. Her shoes, borrowed because her mother had hidden her good ones, clicked against the stone floor. Every step echoed. The acoustics in this place were designed to humiliate. Nothing stayed private. Nothing stayed small. At the front of the hall, beside the ceremonial fire pit that hadn't been lit in 15 years, stood her groom. Riven Hale. He didn't look like much. Tall, yes, lean in the way that came from missing meals, not training, dark hair that needed cutting, a jaw that might have been handsome if he smiled, but he never did. He wore plain clothes, gray shirt, dark trousers, boots that had seen 1,000 miles of bad road. No family crest, no pack markings, no rings, no medals, no signs of rank, nothing. And that nothing was why they hated him. Mara's father, Gareth Kessler, stood near the front row with his arms crossed and his mouth a flat line. He hadn't said a word to her in 2 weeks, not since she'd told him she was going through with it. "You'll destroy this family," he'd said then, voice shaking. Not with sadness, with rage. Her mother, Leora, sat beside him in black, mourning colors, as if Mara had already died. She wouldn't look up, wouldn't meet Mara's eyes. Only Cleo was watching, her face blotchy and red, 12 years old and heartbroken in a way that made Mara's chest ache. But it was the rest of them, the court, that made it unbearable. Whispers crawled through the room like insects. She could have had Anton Vane, could have had anyone. Throwing herself away on a drifter. Does he even have a wolf? Heard he's been sleeping in barns. She's punishing her father, that's all this is. Mara kept walking, one foot in front of the other. If she stopped, she'd break. If she broke, they'd win. Riven watched her approach. His expression didn't change. He didn't smile, didn't frown, just waited, hands loose at his sides, like he'd been waiting his whole life and knew how to be patient. She hated that she found it comforting. When she reached him, he inclined his head. A small gesture, private. "You okay?" he asked, voice low. "No," she said. He almost smiled. Almost. The officiant, Elder Corvan, a dried-up old wolf who'd been conducting ceremonies since before Mara was born, stepped forward. He looked like he'd rather be conducting a funeral. "We are gathered," he began, voice flat, "to witness the bonding of Mara Elise Kessler, daughter of Gareth and Leora, to—" He paused, squinted at the parchment in his hands like the ink had smudged. "Riven Hale, of no known pack." Laughter rippled through the hall, not loud, just enough to sting. Mara's jaw tightened. Riven didn't react. Corvan cleared his throat. "The bond is a sacred—" "Is he even a wolf?" The voice came from the left side of the hall, loud, deliberately so. Mara didn't have to look to know who it was. Anton Vane. Of course, tall, golden-haired, with the kind of face that made people trust him before they realized they shouldn't. He'd proposed to Mara 6 months ago. She'd said no. He hadn't taken it well. Corvin's face pinched. Silence during the... It's a fair question, Anton continued, stepping into the aisle. He had an audience now. He was going to use it. I mean, we don't know anything about him, where he's from, what pack raised him, if he even has a wolf. Murmurs of agreement. Mara's father didn't move, didn't defend her. Her mother stared at the floor. Riven stood perfectly still. Anton, Mara said, voice tight. Sit down. Or what? He grinned. It didn't reach his eyes. You'll sick your stray on me? More laughter. Louder this time. Mara felt something crack inside her chest. Not her heart. Something harder. Something that had been holding her together. Enough, Elder Corvin snapped. This is a sacred... Sacred? Anton laughed. She's marrying a vagrant. A man who showed up 3 months ago with no history, no references, no... Enough. Riven's voice cut through the hall like a blade. It wasn't loud. It didn't have to be. The room went quiet. Anton blinked, surprised. He'd been expecting silence, submission, maybe even fear. He didn't get any of it. Riven took one step forward. Just one. The temperature in the room seemed to drop. You've made your point, Riven said evenly. You don't like me. You don't trust me. You think Mara made a mistake. His gaze swept the room. Most of you do. No one argued. But here's the thing, Riven continued. His voice was calm, too calm. What she does isn't your business. Who she chooses isn't your choice. And what you think of me, he looked directly at Anton, matters less than nothing. Anton's grin faltered. You want to insult me? Fine. I've been insulted by better. Riven's eyes were dark, unreadable. But you insult her again, and we're going to have a problem. Is that a threat? Anton's voice rose, trying to regain control. You threatening me? No. Riven's tone didn't change. It's a promise. The hall erupted, not in laughter this time. In shock, in anger. How dare you? Who the hell does he think he is? Gareth, are you going to let him? Mara's father finally moved. He stood, face flushed, fists clenched. You will not speak to my pack that way. Riven looked at him. For a long moment, he said nothing, then quietly, Your pack. Right. Gareth's face darkened. What's that supposed to mean? It means, Riven said, still calm, still steady, that I don't see anyone here defending your daughter. I see a lot of people mocking her, judging her, treating her like she's disposable. He turned his gaze back to Anton. Including you. Anton's jaw worked. You don't get to talk to me like, then stop me. Silence. Anton stared. Everyone stared. Riven didn't blink. Go ahead, Riven said softly. Challenge me. Right here. Right now. The air in the hall turned sharp. Dangerous. Pack challenges were blood law. Old law. Once issued, they couldn't be refused. Anton's face went pale, because he just realized what everyone else was starting to see. Riven wasn't afraid. And that was wrong. Drifters were afraid. Strays were afraid. Men with nothing were always afraid. But Riven stood there like he was carved from stone, and the look in his eyes was the kind of look that came from men who'd seen worse than Anton Vane could imagine. Anton stammered, I didn't... You didn't what? Riven's voice was soft, too soft. Didn't mean it? Didn't think I'd call you on it? Anton took a step back. Riven took a step forward. Riven. Mara's voice was quiet, shaking. Don't. He glanced at her. Something in his expression shifted, softened. For you, he said. Only for you. He turned back to Anton. Walk away, Riven said. Now. Anton did. He practically ran back to his seat, and the shame of it, fleeing from a nobody, would haunt him for years. The hall was silent. Gareth Kessler looked like he'd been slapped. Elder Corvin cleared his throat. Shall we continue? Mara nodded. She didn't trust her voice. Riven turned back to her. His hand found hers. His fingers were warm, steady. Corvin rushed through the rest of the ceremony like the hall was on fire. Mara barely heard it, The words blurred together, something about bonds and oaths and unity. And then it was done. You may, Corvan paused, looking deeply uncomfortable. You may seal the bond. Riven leaned in. His lips brushed hers, gentle, careful. It should have felt wrong. It should have felt like a mistake. It didn't. When he pulled back, his eyes searched hers. Still with me? He asked quietly. She nodded. Good, he said, because it's about to get worse. He was right. The doors to the hall slammed open. Wind howled in, cold and sharp, carrying the scent of snow and something else. Something metallic. Blood. A man stumbled through the entrance. His armor was torn. His face was streaked with mud, and worse. He was breathing hard, limping, barely standing, and on his chest, burned into the leather, was a crest Mara had only seen in history books, the royal seal of Valrix. The man scanned the room, his eyes landed on Riven, and then he dropped to one knee. Your Majesty, the man gasped. We've been searching for months. The kingdom, your enemies, they've... He coughed. Blood spattered the floor. They've taken the capital. The hall exploded, not in laughter, in chaos. Mara's vision tunneled. Her ears rang. She looked at Riven, her husband, the man she'd chosen, the man she'd defended, and saw his face go hard. Not surprised, not confused, just resigned. Riven? Her voice cracked. What is he talking about? Riven didn't look at her. He looked at the man kneeling before him. Get up, Kael, he said quietly. I told you not to follow me. I had to. The man, Kael, struggled to his feet. They've called for your execution. They're saying you abandoned the throne, that you're unfit. Lord Varos has... I know what Varos has done. Riven's voice was ice. Mara grabbed his arm. Riven, what is he talking about? Finally, he looked at her, and the guilt in his eyes was the worst thing she'd ever seen. I'm sorry, he said. For what? He took a breath. My name isn't just Riven Hale. The room was silent. It's Riven Alaric Hale, King of Valrix, sovereign of the Northern Territories, protector of the crown and defender of... You're a king? Mara's voice was barely a whisper. He nodded. The hall erupted again, shouting, accusations. Her father was on his feet, face purple with rage. Her mother looked faint. Anton Vane looked like he was going to be sick. Mara just stood there, numb. You lied to me, she said. Yes. You let me stand there. Let them mock me. Let them call you nothing. Yes. Why? Riven's jaw tightened. Because I was nothing. 3 months ago, I was poisoned. Betrayed by someone I trusted. I barely made it out of the palace alive. I've been running ever since. He gestured to Kael. They've been hunting me. My enemies. My own people. Half the kingdom thinks I'm dead. The other half thinks I'm a coward. And you hid. Mara's voice was shaking. You hid here. You let me marry you. You let me... Her throat closed. Riven reached for her. She stepped back. Don't. Mara, Don't. She looked at him. Really looked at him. You used me. No. You used me as cover. As a distraction. You let me humiliate myself. Let my family busquet. I never wanted that. But you let it happen. Riven had no answer. Kael shifted uncomfortably. Your Majesty, we need to move. If I found you, others will... I know. Then we need to go. Now. Riven looked at Mara. She looked at the floor. I'm sorry, he said again. And then he turned. Walked toward Kael. Toward the door. Toward a kingdom she'd never heard of and a life he'd never told her about. Wait! Mara's voice stopped him. He turned. She didn't know what she was going to say. Didn't know what she felt. Anger, betrayal, hurt. But also something else, something that had been building since the moment he'd stepped forward, since the moment he'd defended her when no one else would. If you leave, she said slowly, what happens to me? Riven's expression cracked, just a little. You're free. The bond isn't, it's not binding unless we both... That's not what I asked. He stared at her. If you leave, Mara repeated, what happens to me? Here, in this pack. Understanding dawned. She'd married a nobody. That was humiliating. But if that nobody turned out to be a king, if she'd been right all along, Gareth Kessler would never forgive her. Leora would never speak to her again. And Anton would make sure everyone knew she'd gotten lucky, that she hadn't known, that she was just a fool who stumbled into fortune. They'd take everything from her, even the choice. I'm not staying here, Mara said. Riven blinked. What? I'm not staying. She looked at her father, her mother, the pack that had watched her suffer and done nothing. You want to go back to your kingdom? Fine. I'm coming with you. Mara, I'm your wife. She lifted her chin. Legally, magically, whatever. You said the bond was real, so I'm coming. It's not safe. There's a war. I know. People are trying to kill me. I know. You could die. No. Riven stared at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Why? He asked. Mara thought about it. She could say it was spite, revenge, a way to throw her family's rejection back in their faces, and maybe it was. But it was also something else, something she'd felt when he stood up for her, when he'd looked at Anton Vane and promised violence if anyone hurt her again. No one had ever done that before. Because, she said quietly, you're the only person in this room who didn't treat me like I was disposable. Riven's throat worked. Kael coughed. Your Majesty, I hate to interrupt, but we're leaving. Riven's eyes didn't leave Mara's. Both of us. Are you sure? I'm sure. He held out his hand. Mara looked at it, looked at her family. Her mother was crying now. Her father looked like he wanted to drag her back by force. Cleo was sobbing. The pack that had raised her, that had made her, that had broken her. She turned away and took Riven's hand. Let's go, she said. They walked out of the hall together, into the snow, into the unknown. And behind them, Greystone burned with the knowledge that they'd just lost the only leverage they'd ever have. The girl they'd thrown away had just become a queen, and she was never coming back. The cold hit Mara like a fist. She'd left without a coat, without anything except the dress on her back and the anger burning in her chest. Snow fell in thick sheets, turning the world white and silent, and she could barely see 10 feet ahead. Riven's hand was still wrapped around hers, tight, like he thought she might vanish if he let go. Maybe she would. Kael limped ahead of them, favoring his left leg, breath coming in harsh gasps. Blood dripped from somewhere under his armor, leaving a dark trail in the snow. He kept looking back over his shoulder like he expected an army to come pouring out of the hall behind them. Maybe he did. Where are we going? Mara's teeth were already chattering. Horses, Kael said. 1/2 mile north, if they're still there. If? He didn't answer. Riven pulled off his coat and draped it over her shoulders. It was too big, smelled like wood smoke and something else she couldn't name, but it was warm. She hated that it helped. You're going to freeze, she said. I've been colder. He said it like it was nothing, like freezing was just another Tuesday. They walked in silence. The snow muffled everything. No voices from the hall, no shouts, no pursuit. Not yet. Mara's mind was racing. King. He'd said king. Riven. Her husband, the man she'd defended, the man she'd married because he'd looked at her like she mattered, was a king. And he'd lied about everything. How long were you planning to keep this a secret? The words came out sharper than she meant. Riven glanced at her. As long as I could. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Kael coughed. It sounded wet. Wrong. Your Majesty, we really need to— So, stop calling me that. Riven's voice was hard. Kael blinked. But I know what I am. Riven's jaw tightened. And right now I'm a man trying not to get his wife killed. So save the titles for later. Wife. The word hit Mara like a stone. She was his wife, not his subject, not his pawn. His wife. And he'd dragged her into a war she didn't understand with enemies she'd never met, and a kingdom she'd only heard about in stories. Tell me what happened, she said. Riven didn't look at her. It's complicated. I don't care. Tell me anyway. He was quiet for a long moment, just the crunch of snow under their boots and Kael's labored breathing. Then, 6 months ago, someone poisoned me. Mara's stomach dropped. Not enough to kill me, Riven continued. Just enough to make me weak, sick. I couldn't shift, could barely stand some days. My counsel said it was stress. Overwork. They told me to rest. But it wasn't. No. His voice was flat. It was wolfsbane, mixed with something else. Something I still don't have a name for. By the time I figured it out, half my court thought I was losing my mind. And the other half wanted me dead. The wind picked up. Mara pulled the coat tighter. I started investigating, Riven said. Quietly. I couldn't trust anyone, not my advisors, not my guards, not even... He stopped. Not even who? Mara pressed. My brother. The words came out like broken glass. Mara stared at him. You have a brother? Had. Riven's expression went cold. He died 2 years ago. Hunting accident. At least, that's what they told me. You don't believe them. I don't believe anything anymore. Kael stumbled. Riven caught him before he hit the ground. Easy, Riven said. We're almost there. I'm fine, Kael gasped. Just give me a second. He wasn't fine. Even Mara could see that. Whatever wound he was hiding under that armor, it was bad. You need a healer, she said. Kael shook his head. No time. We have to keep moving. You're bleeding. I know. You're going to die. Probably. He said it so casually, like death was just another inconvenience. Mara looked at Riven. Is everyone in your kingdom insane? Only the loyal ones. He wasn't joking. They started walking again. Slower this time. Kael was leaning on Riven now, and Mara could see the strain in Riven's shoulders. So you figured out someone was poisoning you, she said. Then what? Then I made a mistake. Riven's voice was bitter. I confronted my chief advisor, Lord Varos. He'd been with my father, with my grandfather. I thought if anyone could help me, it was him. Let me guess, Mara said. He couldn't. He tried to kill me. The words hung in the air. Not directly, Riven added. He's too smart for that. But he sent guards, men I'd trusted. They cornered me in the East Wing, told me the council had voted, that I was unfit to rule, that I needed to step down. And when you refused? They tried to make it look like a suicide. Mara's blood went cold. I fought my way out, Riven said. Barely. Kael and 2 others got me to the border. We split up. I went south, told them not to follow. I didn't listen, Kael said weakly. You never do. There was something almost affectionate in Riven's tone, something that made Mara realize these two had known each other a long time. How did you end up in Greystone? She asked. Riven hesitated. I needed somewhere no one would look, somewhere remote, hostile. Hostile? Your pack doesn't exactly welcome strangers. I figured it was the last place Varos would search. So you hid. Mara's voice was flat. You hid in my pack. Let them treat you like dirt. Let them mock you. Yes. And me? Was I part of the plan? Riven stopped walking, turned to face her. No, he said. You were never part of the plan. Then what was I? He looked at her like the question hurt. A mistake, he said quietly. The best one I ever made. Mara didn't know what to say to that. Kael coughed again, louder. Blood flecked his lips. We need to move, Riven said. They found the horses exactly where Kael said they'd be. 3 of them, tied to a skeletal tree at the edge of a frozen stream. 2 were standing. The 3rd was on the ground, sides heaving, eyes glassy, dead or dying. Kael cursed under his breath. What happened? Riven crouched beside the fallen horse. Ambush, Kael said. 2 days ago. We ran. This one took an arrow. And you didn't put it down? I needed the speed. Riven's jaw tightened. He pulled a knife from his belt and pressed it to the horse's throat. One quick cut. The animal shuddered once and went still. Mara looked away. Mount up, Riven said. We're losing time. Mara had ridden before, not often. Greystone wolves didn't trust horses much, preferred to run on 4 legs instead of 2, but she knew the basics. Riven helped her onto one of the remaining horses. His hands were steady, careful. "You ever ridden through a blizzard?" he asked. "No?" "Stay close. Don't try to lead. If you get separated, head north, follow the river. And if I can't find the river, then pray you're lucky." He didn't wait for a response, just swung onto his own horse and pulled Kyle up behind him. They rode. The storm was getting worse. Snow lashed Mara's face, stung her eyes, made it impossible to see more than a few feet ahead. The horse beneath her was shaking, terrified. She didn't blame it. She'd made a mistake. That thought kept circling. She'd made a mistake. She should have stayed in Greystone. Should have taken the humiliation, the mockery, the cold silence from her family. Should have dissolved the bond and moved on. Instead, she'd followed a stranger into a war. A king, her husband. She didn't even know which was worse. "Mara!" Riven's voice cut through the wind. She looked up. He'd stopped ahead, horse stamping nervously. "What?" she shouted back. "Do you hear that?" She listened. At first there was nothing, just wind and snow and the hammering of her own heart. Then, hoofbeats. Behind them. A lot of them. "They found us," Kael said. His voice was fading, weak. Varos must have sent trackers. How many? Riven's hand went to the sword at his hip. Mara hadn't even noticed he was armed. At least a dozen. Maybe more. "Can we outrun them?" Kael looked at the horses, at the storm, at his own blood-soaked armor. "No." Riven's face went hard. "Then we fight." "You can't." Kael grabbed his arm. "Not here, not like this. If they kill you, they won't." "Riven." "I'm not running anymore." He turned his horse, faced the direction of the hoofbeats. Mara's heart was trying to climb out of her chest. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Buying time." "For what?" "For you to get away." "I'm not leaving you." "Mara, I said I'm not leaving." Riven looked at her, really looked at her, and something in his expression shifted. "You don't know how to fight." "I know how to not run." "That's not the same thing." "It'll have to be." Kyle laughed. It turned into a cough. "I like her." "Shut up," Riven said, but there was no heat in it. The hoofbeats were getting louder, closer. Mara could see shapes now, shadows moving through the snow. Too many. "Last chance," Riven said. "Ride north, don't look back." Mara tightened her grip on the reins. "No." "You're going to die." "Then I'll die next to you." Riven stared at her like she'd lost her mind. Maybe she had. "Why?" he asked. It was the second time he'd asked her that. Mara thought about it, about the wedding, the humiliation, the years of being invisible in her own pack, of being nothing, and then about the moment Riven had stepped forward, had defended her, had looked Anton Vane in the eye and promised violence if anyone hurt her again. No one had ever done that. Because, she said, someone has to. The riders broke through the snow. There were more than a dozen, closer to 20, all armed, all wearing the same dark armor Kael had on, but theirs wasn't torn, wasn't bloodied. They looked fresh, ready. One of them rode forward, older, gray-haired, a scar running from his temple to his jaw. "Your Majesty," the man said. His voice was mocking. "We've been looking for you." Riven's hand was on his sword. "Garen, you remember me. I'm honored. I remember you swore an oath." "I swore to protect the kingdom." Garen's smile was cold. "Not a broken king." "I'm not broken." "You ran. You hid. You married some border nobody and played house while your kingdom burned." Garen shook his head. "That sounds broken to me." Mara's hands tightened on the reins. "Lord Varos sends his regards," Garen continued, "and his condolences. He's very sorry it had to end this way." "It doesn't have to end at all," Riven said. "You can walk away." "And go where? Back to Varos empty-handed? You know what he does to failures." "Then don't fail." Garen laughed. "You always had a sense of humor. I'll miss that." He raised his hand. The other riders drew their weapons. Riven pulled his sword. Hale slid off the horse, legs barely holding him. He had a blade too, short, wicked-looking. "This is stupid," he muttered. "I know," Riven said. "We're going to die." "Probably. Just wanted to make sure we were on the same page." Mara didn't have a weapon, didn't know how to use one if she did, but she slid off her horse anyway, stood beside them. Riven glanced at her. "What are you doing?" "Being stupid with you." "Mara—" "Shut up." Garen tilted his head. "The wife wants to die too? How romantic." "Go to hell," Mara said. He grinned. "You first." He dropped his hand. The riders charged. Riven moved. Mara had never seen anyone move like that. He was fast, faster than any wolf she'd ever seen, and his sword was a silver blur in the snow. The first rider went down before he even got close. The second lost his arm. Kyle fought like a dying man, wild, desperate. He took down one rider, then another, but he was slowing, bleeding. Mara tried to stay out of the way, tried not to get killed. A rider broke through the line, came straight at her. She didn't think, just grabbed a rock from the ground and threw it. It hit the rider in the face. He swore, rein slipping, and his horse reared. Riven was there in an instant. Sword through the man's chest. "Stay behind me," he snapped. "I'm trying." Another rider, then another. Riven was bleeding now, a cut across his shoulder, another on his thigh. Kale went down, didn't get up. "No!" Riven lunged toward him. Garen was waiting. His blade caught Riven across the ribs. Not deep, but enough. Riven staggered. Garen grinned. "It's over," he said. Mara's heart stopped. Riven was on his knees, sword half raised, blood soaking through his shirt. Garen lifted his blade. And then, a howl. Not from Riven, not from Kyle, from the trees. Garen froze. The remaining riders turned. Out of the snow came wolves, big ones, gray and black and silver, eyes glowing in the dark, at least 30 of them. Leading them was a man Mara recognized. Her father. Gareth Kessler stood at the edge of the clearing, flanked by pack wolves, and his face was stone. "What the hell are you doing here, Mara breathed. Gareth ignored her, looked at Garen. "You're on Greystone land," he said. "Uninvited." Garen's smile faltered. "This doesn't concern you. That's my daughter you're trying to kill." "We're not here for her. We're here for the Traitor King." "The Traitor King," Gareth said slowly, "is her husband. That's not, which makes him pack." The wolves moved forward. Garen's remaining riders shifted nervously. "You want to start a war over this?" Garen demanded. Gareth's smile was sharp, mean. "Try me." For a long moment, no one moved. Then Garen cursed, wheeled his horse around. "This isn't over," he snarled at Riven. "It never is," Riven said. Garen and his men rode off into the storm. The clearing went silent. Gareth walked forward, looked down at Riven, at Kyle, at Mara, standing in the snow in a ruined wedding dress and a coat 3 sizes too big. "You have terrible taste in men," he said. Mara almost laughed. "I know." Gareth crouched beside Riven. "You're bleeding." "I noticed." "Can you ride?" "If I have to." "You have to." Gareth stood. "Greystone's 3 hours south. We have healers, food, shelter." "Why are you helping me?" Riven's voice was rough. Gareth looked at Mara. "Because she chose you," he said. "And I didn't defend her when I should have." He turned to the pack. "Get the wounded on horses. We're moving." 2 wolves, shifted back to human form, naked and shivering, lifted Kyle. He groaned but didn't wake. Riven tried to stand, failed. Mara moved to his side. Let him lean on her. He was heavier than he looked. "You shouldn't have come," he said. "I know." "You should have stayed in the hall." "I know." "You're going to regret this." "Probably." He looked at her. Blood on his face, snow in his hair, eyes dark and tired, and something else, grateful. "Thank you," he said. "Don't," Mara said. "Not yet. We're not out of this." "No," Riven agreed. "We're not." They rode back to Greystone together, into the pack that had mocked her, into the family that had abandoned her. And as the storm raged around them, Mara realized something. She'd made her choice. Not just to leave, to fight, and there was no going back. The healers worked in silence. Mara sat in the corner of the room and watched them stitch Riven back together. 3 women, all older than her mother, all moving with the kind of efficiency that came from decades of patching up wolves who'd bitten off more than they could chew. They'd stripped him to the waist. His torso was a mess. The cut across his ribs was deep, would scar badly. The one on his thigh had missed the artery by inches. There were older marks, too. Burns, slashes. A puckered wound near his spine that looked like someone had stabbed him and twisted the blade. This wasn't his first war, might not even be his worst. "He's lucky," one of the healers said, gray-haired, stern-faced. "Another inch to the left, and we'd be burying him." "He's not lucky," Mara said. "He's stubborn." The woman almost smiled. "Same thing in my experience." Riven hadn't made a sound since they'd started. Not when they cleaned the wounds, not when they stitched. He just lay there, jaw tight, staring at the ceiling like he could will himself somewhere else. Kael was in the next room. Worse off. They'd had to cut the armor away, and what was underneath made Mara's stomach turn. He'd been hiding a gut wound. Deep, infected. He should have been dead already. The fact that he'd ridden for 2 days, fought off an ambush, and stayed conscious long enough to warn Riven was either a miracle or pure spite. Mara was betting on spite. Her father had left them in the healer's wing and disappeared. No explanation, no instructions, just gone. Her mother hadn't come at all. Cleo had, briefly. She'd stood in the doorway, eyes red and swollen, and stared at Mara like she was looking at a stranger. "Are you okay?" she'd whispered. Mara didn't know how to answer that. "Go to bed," she'd said instead. "It's late." Cleo had left without arguing. Now it was just Mara and the healers and the sound of thread pulling through skin. "You should rest," one of the women said. Not the stern one, the younger one with kind eyes and hands that shook slightly when they worked. "You've had a long night." "I'm fine." "You're shaking." Mara looked down. Her hands were trembling. She hadn't noticed. "I said I'm fine." The woman didn't push. They finished with Riven an hour later, wrapped him in bandages, gave him something bitter to drink that made him grimace. "Sleep," the stern one ordered. "Don't move. Don't shift. Don't do anything stupid." "Can't promise that," Riven said. His voice was rough, tired. "Try anyway." They left. The room went quiet. Mara stayed in her corner. Riven stayed on the bed. Neither of them spoke. Finally, "You should go," Riven said. "Where?" "Anywhere that's not here." "Why?" "Because being near me is dangerous." Mara laughed. It came out sharp, bitter. "I think I figured that out." Mara "Don't." She stood, crossed to the bed. "Don't tell me to leave. Don't tell me it's dangerous. I already know." "Then why are you still here?" She didn't have a good answer for that. Or maybe she did. She just didn't want to say it out loud. "You lied to me," she said instead. "I know. You let me marry you thinking you were nobody." "I know. You used me." Riven flinched. "No, I never. You hid in my pack, used my family's land. Let me humiliate myself defending you when you could have ended it with a single word." "I couldn't." "Why not?" Her voice cracked. "Why not just tell me? Why let me walk into that hall thinking I was marrying some drifter, Because I was nobody." The words came out raw. Riven pushed himself up. The healers would have screamed if they'd seen him. He was supposed to be flat on his back for at least a day. 3 months ago, he said, I was a king. I had a kingdom, an army, power, people who looked at me and saw something worth following. He gestured to the bandages, to the scars. And then I didn't. I had nothing. I was nothing, just a man running for his life, poisoned by someone I trusted, hunted by my own people. His eyes met hers. So when I met you, when you looked at me and didn't see a title or a throne or anything except a stranger who needed help, I thought maybe I could be that. Just a man. Just Riven. But you're not, Mara said. You're a king. I don't want to be. Too bad. Riven stared at her. You don't get to choose, Mara said. You think I wanted to be the daughter everyone mocked? The one they threw away? I didn't. But that's what I got. And you, she pointed at him, you're a king, whether you want it or not. And people are dying because you're here instead of there. People would die if I went back. Then they die either way. Her voice was hard. But at least if you go back, you're fighting. Riven was quiet for a long time. I can't win, he said finally. Not against Varos. He has half the council, most of the army. The people think I abandoned them. So prove them wrong. How? I don't know. Mara sat on the edge of the bed. But hiding in Greystone isn't working, and running isn't working. So what's left? Riven looked at her like she'd just said something impossible. You want me to go back? He said slowly. I want you to stop running. That's the same thing. Is it? He didn't answer. The door opened. Gareth Kessler stood in the doorway. He looked older than he had at the wedding, tired. He was carrying a bottle and 2 glasses. You're supposed to be resting, he said to Riven. So I've been told. Gareth stepped inside, closed the door behind him, set the bottle and glasses on the table near the window. Mara, he said. Out. No. This isn't a request. I don't care. Gareth's jaw tightened. I need to speak with your husband, alone. Then speak. I'm staying. Father and daughter stared at each other. Gareth broke first. Stubborn, he muttered, just like your mother. You say that like it's a bad thing. He almost smiled. Almost. He poured 2 drinks, offered one to Riven. Riven took it. Gareth drained his in one swallow, poured another. I owe you an apology, he said. Riven blinked. For what? For not defending my daughter when I should have. You defended her tonight. I defended her tonight, Gareth repeated. But I should have done it at the wedding. When Anton was running his mouth, when the pack was laughing, I should have stood up and told them all to shut the hell up. He looked at Mara. But I didn't. Because I was angry. Because I thought you were making a mistake. Because I couldn't see past my own pride. Mara's throat tightened. I was wrong, Gareth said. And I'm sorry. He turned back to Riven. You're a king. So I'm told. And my daughter is your wife. Yes. Which makes her a queen. Riven's hand tightened on the glass. She doesn't have to be. The bond is binding, Gareth interrupted. Legally, magically, whatever else. You married her in front of witnesses in a sanctioned ceremony. There's no walking that back. If she wants to dissolve it, do you? Gareth looked at Mara. Mara hesitated. She should say yes, should take the out, should go back to her life and pretend none of this happened. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was, no. Both men stared at her. No, she repeated. I don't want to dissolve it. Mara, Riven started. I made a choice, she said. I chose you. I'm not taking it back. Even if it kills you? Even then. Gareth set down his glass. Then we need to talk strategy. Strategy? Riven frowned. You can't stay here. Greystone's too small, too exposed. Varos knows where you are now. He'll send more men. Better men. I know. And you can't go back to Valrix alone. You said yourself, half the kingdom wants you dead. More than half? Gareth nodded. So you need allies. I don't have allies. You have one, Gareth pointed at himself. Greystone's small, but we're mean, and we owe you for what happened tonight. You don't owe me anything. I owe my daughter, Gareth said. And she chose you, so I'm choosing you too. Riven looked like he'd been hit. Why? He asked. Because someone has to. The same words Mara had said. Riven's throat worked. What do you want in return? He asked. Nothing. There's always something. Gareth smiled. It wasn't kind. When you take back your throne, he said, I want trade routes, open borders, and a promise that Greystone will never bow to Valrix. That's not nothing. No, Gareth agreed. It's not. But it's fair. Riven was quiet for a moment. Then he held out his hand. Deal. They shook. Mara watched them and felt something shift. Something she couldn't name. Her father, the man who'd refused to speak to her for weeks, was siding with her. With them. It felt wrong. Too easy. Nothing in Greystone was ever easy. The door slammed open. Leora Kessler stood there, face white, eyes wild. "They're here," she said. Gareth went still. "Who?" "Soldiers. Royal soldiers. At least 50 of them, maybe more." "From Valrix?" "I don't know. They're not wearing Varos's colors. They're wearing—" She stopped, looked at Riven. "They're wearing yours." Riven stood, too fast. He swayed. Mara caught him before he fell. "That's impossible," he said. "I don't have an army anymore." "Well, someone didn't get the message," Leora said, "because there's a woman at the gate demanding to see the king, and she's got enough firepower to level this place." Riven cursed. "Who is she?" Gareth demanded. "I don't know. She wouldn't give a name, just said to tell the king that his general has come to collect him." Riven's face went pale. "Seren." "Who?" "General Seren Blackwood." Riven was already moving toward the door, slowly, painfully. "She was my second in command. I thought Varos had her killed." "Apparently not," Leora said. They made it to the courtyard in minutes. Mara had to half-carry Riven. He was bleeding through the bandages already. The healers were going to murder him, if the soldiers didn't do it first. The courtyard was packed, Greystone's wolves on one side, the royal soldiers on the other. Both sides armed, both sides ready. In the middle stood a woman, tall, dark-skinned, scarred. She wore black armor etched with silver, and her hair was pulled back in a braid that fell to her waist. A sword hung at her hip, a bow across her back. She looked like she could kill everyone in the courtyard without breaking a sweat. Her eyes locked on Riven. "Your Majesty," she said. Her voice was rough, tired. "You're harder to find than I thought." "Seren." Riven sounded like he was seeing a ghost. How am I alive?" Seren smiled. It wasn't friendly. "Varos tried. Sent assassins. Poisoned my food. Even tried to frame me for treason. None of it stuck." "Where have you been?" "Gathering an army." She gestured to the soldiers behind her. "What's left of your loyalists? The ones who didn't sell out? The ones who still believe you're worth following?" "There can't be 50 of you." "There's not." Seren's smile widened. "There's 500. These are just the advance guard." Riven swayed. Mara tightened her grip on him. 500, he repeated. "Against Varos's 3,000? Yeah, we're outnumbered, but we're meaner." She looked at Mara. "You must be the wife." "I must be. You have terrible taste in men." "So I've been told." Seren laughed. "I like her." "Everyone keeps saying that," Mara muttered. Seren turned back to Riven. "We need to move. Now. Varos knows I'm here. He'll send everything he has." "I can't go back," Riven said. "Not like this. Not without—" "Without what? A plan? A strategy? A miracle?" Seren shook her head. "We're out of time. Varos executed the remaining council members yesterday, publicly. He's calling it a purge. Says they were conspiring with you." "They weren't." "I know, but he needed a reason to consolidate power. Now he has it. If we don't move, he'll crown himself king by the end of the week." Riven's hands clenched. "How many did he kill?" 7. "Who?" Seren listed the names. Riven's face went gray. One of the names was someone Mara recognized. Lord Theron. Riven had mentioned him once, said he'd been at Riven's coronation, had helped write the kingdom's new trade laws, had been a friend. "I'm going to kill him," Riven said quietly. "Get in line," Seren said. "But first, we need to get you back to Valrix. Alive." "With what army? You said yourself, we're outnumbered 5-1. 6-1, actually. I was being optimistic." "That's not better." "No," Seren agreed. "It's not, which is why we're not going to fight fair." "What's that supposed to mean?" Seren glanced at Gareth, at the Greystone wolves. "It means," she said, "we need allies, and I hear you just married into one." Gareth crossed his arms. "We already talked. Greystone will help." "How many wolves can you spare?" "All of them." Seren raised an eyebrow. "All?" "We're small," Gareth said. "But we're vicious, and we don't like being told what to do. Varos sends men into our territory, we'll tear them apart." "Good." Seren looked at Riven. "But it's still not enough. We need more." "I don't have more." "Then find it. Riven shook his head. You're asking me to start a war. Varro's already started it. We're just finishing it. People will die. People are already dying. Riven was quiet. Mara could see the calculation in his eyes, the weight of it, king or drifter, war or peace, safety or slaughter. She'd made her choice. Now he had to make his. If I do this, Riven said slowly, I do it my way. No executions, no purges. We take back the throne, but we don't become him. Agreed. And if we lose, we won't. But if we do, Riven pressed, you get out. You don't die for me. Seren smiled. Can't promise that. Seren, I've been your general for 8 years. You think I'm walking away now? Yes. Then you don't know me as well as you think. They stared at each other. Finally, Riven sighed. Fine. We go back. But we need a plan. I have one. Does it involve suicide? Only a little. Riven almost laughed. Of course it does. Seren pulled a map from her pack, spread it on the ground. Varros is fortifying the capital. He's got 3,000 men, maybe more. Most of them are mercenaries, loyal to gold, not ideals. So we cut off his funding, Riven said. Can't. He seized the treasury, and the nobles who opposed him are either dead or in hiding. Then we find the ones in hiding. We're trying, but it's slow, and we're running out of time. Mara looked at the map, at the lines marking cities and borders and territories, and saw something. What about the eastern provinces? She asked. Everyone looked at her. What about them? Seren said. They're not marked as loyal to Varros. That's because they're not loyal to anyone. They've been independent for decades. Exactly. Mara pointed to the cluster of small territories along the coast. They don't want a king, but they don't want Varros either. If you can convince them that Riven's different, that he's not going to force them to bow, they might help. Seren frowned. That's a long shot. So is everything else. Seren looked at Riven. She's right. I know. You think you can convince them? I don't know, Riven said, but I can try. Seren nodded. Then we split up. I'll take the main force north. Draw Varros' attention. You take a small group east. Win the provinces. Meet us at the capital in 2 weeks. 2 weeks isn't enough time. It's all we have. Riven's jaw tightened. Fine, he said, but I'm bringing Mara. No, Gareth said immediately. Yes, Mara said at the same time. Gareth turned on her. Absolutely not, it's too dangerous. I don't care. Mara, he's my husband, she said. I'm going. You'll get yourself killed. Maybe, but I'm still going. Gareth looked at Riven. Talk some sense into her. I tried, Riven said. It didn't work. Try harder. No. Gareth's face darkened. You're her husband. Tell her to stay. I'm her husband, Riven said evenly. Not her keeper. If she wants to come, she comes. Mara felt something warm bloom in her chest. Gareth looked between them. Saw he'd lost. Fine, he said, but I'm sending wolves with you. How many? 10, armed, trained. And if anything happens to her, I know, Riven said. Gareth nodded, stepped back. Seren rolled up the map. We leave at dawn. Get some rest. I don't need rest. You're bleeding through your bandages. Get some rest. Riven didn't argue. They made it back to the room. Mara helped him onto the bed. You shouldn't come, he said. We already had this fight. I'm serious. The eastern provinces, they're rough, violent. They don't trust outsiders. Good thing I'm good at making people trust me, Mara said. You're not. I know, but I'm learning. Riven smiled, just a little. You're going to get us both killed. Probably. He reached for her hand. She let him take it. Thank you, he said. For what? For staying. Mara didn't know what to say to that, so she just squeezed his hand and stayed. Dawn came too fast. Mara woke to find Riven already up, already dressed, already moving like he hadn't been half dead 12 hours ago. Stubborn didn't even begin to cover it. Seren was waiting in the courtyard with her soldiers. Gareth had gathered the 10 wolves he'd promised, young, fierce, ready, Cleo was there too, still crying. "Don't go," she whispered. Mara hugged her. "I have to." "Why?" Because running never worked. Because hiding never worked. Because sometimes the only way forward was through. "Because someone has to," Mara said. Cleo pulled back, looked at her like she was seeing someone new. "Come back," she said. "I'll try." They mounted up. Riven on one horse, Mara on another, the wolves in formation around them. Seren clasped Riven's arm. "2 weeks. Don't be late." "I won't." "And Riven?" "Yeah?" "Don't die. I hate breaking in new kings." He smiled. "I'll do my best." They rode east, into the mountains, into the unknown. And 3 days later, when they crested the ridge overlooking the first eastern province, Mara saw what they were up against. The town was burning, smoke filled the sky, bodies lined the streets, and in the center of it all, standing on a platform built from broken homes and shattered lives, was a man in black armor. He wasn't alone. He had soldiers, hundreds of them, and they were flying Varos's banner. "He got here first," one of the wolves said. Riven's face was stone. "Yeah, he did. What do we do?" Riven looked at Mara. She looked back and made a decision. "We go down there," she said, "and we stop him." "How?" the wolf demanded. "There's too many." "I don't know," Mara said, "but we'll figure it out." Riven stared at her. "You're insane," he said. "I know. This is suicide." "Probably." He smiled. "Let's go." They rode down the hill, into the fire, and Mara realized as the smoke swallowed them and the screaming grew louder that there was no turning back now. She'd made her choice, and it was going to cost her everything. The smoke made it impossible to see more than 10 feet ahead. Mara's horse was panicking. She could feel it in the way its muscles bunched, the way it fought the reins. Smart animal. It knew death when it smelled it. Around her, the Greystone wolves had shifted, not into full wolf form, too vulnerable in a fight like this, but enough. Claws, fangs, eyes that glowed amber in the smoke. Riven rode beside her, one hand on his sword, the other on the reins. His face was blank, unreadable. "We need to split up," he said. "Bad idea," one of the wolves, Dane, his name was, growled. "We stay together, or we die. We die either way if we charge in as a group." Riven pointed to the burning buildings. "They'll see us coming. Pick us off." "So what do you suggest?" "Mara and I go through the center, draw their attention. You flank from the sides. Hit them when they're distracted." "That's suicide." "It's strategy." "It's the same thing." Riven's jaw tightened. "You have a better idea?" Dane didn't. None of them did. "Fine," Dane said. "But if you get her killed, your general's going to have my head." "Get in line," Riven muttered. He looked at Mara. "You don't have to do this." "Yes, I do." "Mara, we're not having this argument again." She kicked her horse forward. "Let's go." She heard Riven curse behind her, then hoofbeats. He caught up in seconds. "You're insane," he said. "You already said that." "I'm saying it again." They rode into the burning town. The heat hit first, then the screaming. Mara had thought the town was dead, empty. She was wrong. People were still alive, trapped, hiding, and the soldiers were hunting them. A woman ran past, dress torn, face bloody. 2 soldiers chased her. One caught her by the hair, dragged her down. Mara didn't think, just kicked her horse toward them. "Hey!" The soldiers turned, saw her, saw Riven, and froze. "That's him," one said. "That's the king." The other one smiled. "Varos said he'd pay double for proof." "Then let's collect." They let the woman go. Came at Mara and Riven instead. Riven's sword was out. He met the first soldier head on, blade against blade, sparks in the smoke. The second came at Mara. She didn't have a weapon, didn't know how to fight. But she'd grown up in Greystone, and Greystone didn't raise soft women. She threw herself off the horse, hit the ground hard, rolled. The soldier swung, missed. Mara grabbed a chunk of broken wood, swung back. It connected with his knee. He went down. She hit him again, this time in the face. He stopped moving. Mara stood, chest heaving, hands shaking. Riven was staring at her. "What?" she said. "Nothing. Just remind me not to piss you off." "Too late." He almost smiled. More soldiers came. Riven killed 2, wounded a 3rd, but they kept coming, too many. "We need to move," he said. "Where?" "The platform, where that man was standing. That's where they all are." "I know. That's suicide." "It's strategy," Riven repeated. Mara wanted to argue, but another scream cut through the smoke. More people dying. More soldiers hunting. "Fine," she said. "But if we die, I'm blaming you." "Fair." They ran. The wolves hit from the sides. Mara heard snarling, screaming, the wet sound of claws tearing through armor. Good. They reached the platform. It was worse up close, built from homes, from furniture, from lives. And standing on top of it was the man in black armor. He was younger than Mara expected, maybe 30, blonde hair, sharp features. He looked like he'd been carved from ice. "Riven Hail," he said. His voice carried over the chaos. "The coward king." "Commander Drake," Riven said, "still taking Varos's coin? Better than dying for a dead cause." "I'm not dead yet." Drake smiled. "Give it time." He gestured. Soldiers closed in, at least 20 of them, armed, ready, too many. Riven raised his sword. Mara stood beside him and realized something. They couldn't win. Not with strength. Not with steel. But maybe they didn't have to. "Wait," she said. Riven glanced at her. "What?" "Just wait." She stepped forward. Drake raised an eyebrow. "The wife wants to talk? How sweet." "I'm not here to talk," Mara said. "I'm here to make you an offer." "I'm listening." "You said Varos pays you. How much?" Drake's smile widened. 50 gold per month, double for the king's head." "I'll pay triple." The soldiers went quiet. Drake laughed. "You don't have triple." "I will, when he takes back the throne." "He's not taking back anything. He's a dead man." "Is he?" Mara looked at the soldiers, at their faces. "You're mercenaries. You fight for gold. But Varos is losing. You know it. We know it. Half the kingdom's already turned against him." "Half the kingdom's dead," Drake corrected. "Because of him. Because he killed the council. Because he's a tyrant." Mara's voice rose. "But Riven's not. He's offering you a choice. Fight for a dying cause and get nothing, or fight for a winning one and get paid." Drake's smile faded. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" She wasn't, not really. She had no idea if Riven could pay them, no idea if they even had a treasury left. But she said it anyway, and watched Drake's face. He was thinking, calculating. "How do I know you'll pay?" he asked. "You don't," Mara said. "But you know Varos won't. He's already taken the treasury, already spent it on himself. You think he's going to share?" Drake was quiet. "Triple," Mara repeated, "plus land, plus titles, plus whatever else you want." "And if he loses?" "Then you're no worse off than you are now." Drake looked at Riven. "You agreeing to this?" Riven hesitated. Mara held her breath. Then, "Yes." Drake stared at him. "You're serious." "I'm serious." "You'll pay triple." "I will." "And land." "And land." Drake laughed. Not mockery, something else, surprise, maybe. "You're either the bravest man I've ever met," he said, "or the stupidest." Probably both, Riven said. Drake looked at his soldiers, at the burning town, at the bodies in the streets. "Stand down," he said. The soldiers didn't move. "I said stand down." Slowly, they lowered their weapons. Drake stepped off the platform, walked toward Riven, held out his hand. "You've got 2 weeks to prove you can win," he said. "If you can't, I'm taking Varos's offer." "Deal," Riven said. They shook. Mara's legs nearly gave out. Drake looked at her. "You've got guts. I'll give you that." "I've got desperation," Mara said. "It's not the same thing." "Close enough." He turned to his soldiers. "Help put out the fires, find survivors, and someone get me a drink. I just switched sides in a war." The soldiers moved. Riven grabbed Mara's arm, pulled her aside. "What the hell was that?" he demanded. That was me saving your life. By promising money we don't have? Do we not have it? I don't know. Maybe. If we take back the capital, if we don't all die first, then we better not die. Riven stared at her. You're terrifying. You know that? I'm learning. He smiled. Actually smiled. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. We still have to win. I know. The wolves emerged from the smoke, bloodied, exhausted, but alive. Dane looked at the soldiers putting out fires, at Drake barking orders. What did I miss? He asked. Mara just bought us an army, Riven said. With what? Promises. Dane laughed. You're both insane. So we've been told. They spent the next 3 hours helping survivors, putting out fires, pulling bodies from rubble. It was grim work, horrible work, but necessary. By the time the sun set, the town was half ruins, but the people who were left were alive and grateful. An old woman, her face lined with age and soot, approached Mara. You're the queen, she said. I'm the wife, Mara corrected. Same thing. The woman grabbed her hand. Thank you for stopping them. I didn't stop them. You stopped them, the woman repeated. My granddaughter's alive because of you. Mara's throat tightened. I'm glad, she said. The woman smiled, toothless, tired. The provinces don't trust kings, she said, but maybe we'll trust you. She walked away. Mara stood there, hand still warm from the woman's grip, and felt something shift inside her. Not relief, not pride. Responsibility. These people were counting on her now. On them. And if they failed, she couldn't think about that. Riven found her an hour later, sitting on the remains of a wall, staring at nothing. You okay? He asked. No? Good. I'd be worried if you were. He sat beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. That was smart, he said. What you did with Drake. It was reckless. Same thing. Mara almost smiled. You keep saying that. Because it's true. They sat in silence. Then, what if we can't pay them? Mara asked. We will. But what if we can't? Riven was quiet for a moment. Then we'll figure something else out, he said. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Mara looked at him, at the bruises on his face, the bandages under his shirt, the exhaustion in his eyes. You're a terrible king, she said. I know. You make promises you can't keep. I know. You drag people into wars they don't understand. I know. And you lied to me. Riven flinched. I know. Mara took his hand. But you're trying, she said, and that's more than most. Riven's fingers tightened around hers. I don't deserve you, he said. You're right, you don't. He laughed, quiet, broken. Thank you, he said, for everything. Stop thanking me, we're not done yet. I know. They stayed there until the stars came out, until Dane found them and told them Drake wanted to move at dawn. Where to? Riven asked. The next province. There's a council there. Leaders of the independent territories. If we can convince them, we'll have half the east, Riven finished. Exactly. And if we can't, then we're back to suicide missions. Riven stood, pulled Mara up with him. Let's go convince them, he said. They rode out at dawn. Drake's soldiers joined them. 200 mercenaries who'd just switched sides. The Greystone wolves didn't trust them, kept their distance, watched them like prey. Mara didn't blame them. The council met in a fortress carved into the side of a mountain. Gray stone, high walls, guards at every entrance. Not welcoming, not hostile, just cautious. The leader, a woman named Kara, tall and scarred and radiating authority, met them in the courtyard. Riven hail, she said. The lost king. Not lost anymore? Riven said. No, just desperate. Kara's eyes flicked to Mara. And who's this? My wife, Mara. The border girl who married a drifter. Kara smiled, thin, sharp. I heard about that. Quite the scandal. It was memorable, Mara said. I'm sure. Kara gestured for them to follow. They walked through the fortress, past guards, past weapons, past maps marked with territories and borders and battle plans. These people were ready for war. The question was, whose side were they on? The council chamber was circular. Stone benches lining the walls, a fire pit in the center. 5 people sat waiting, old, young, scarred, soft, all of them watching. Kara took her seat. "You have 1 hour. Convince us." Riven stepped forward. "You know why I'm here." "We know why you think you're here," one of the council members, a man with a beard down to his chest, said. "But we want to hear it from you." "I'm here to ask for your help." "Against Varos." "Yes." "Why should we?" another council member asked. A woman with white hair and cold eyes. "He hasn't touched us, hasn't threatened us. Why should we risk our people for your war?" "Because it's not just my war," Riven said. "It's yours too. You think Varos will stop at the capital? He's already expanding, taking towns, killing dissenters. If you don't help stop him now, he'll come for you next." "Maybe," the bearded man said. "Or maybe he'll leave us alone if we stay out of it." "He won't." "You don't know that." "I do." Riven's voice was hard. "Because I've seen what he does. I've seen how he operates. He doesn't leave loose ends. And independent provinces? You're the biggest loose end of all." The council was quiet. Then Kara spoke. "Let's say we believe you," she said. "Let's say Varos is a threat. Why should we back you? You're a king who ran, who hid, who let his kingdom fall apart." "I know. And now you want us to die for you." "No," Riven said. "I want you to fight with me. There's a difference." "Is there?" "Yes." Kara leaned forward. "Prove it." Riven hesitated. Mara saw it. The doubt. The fear. He didn't have proof. Didn't have promises. Didn't have anything except words. And words weren't enough. So she stepped forward. "I'll prove it," she said. Everyone turned to stare. "And how will you do that?" Kara asked. "By showing you what he's already done." Mara looked at the council. "You want to know if Riven's worth following? Look at who's following him." She gestured to Drake, to the mercenaries standing outside. These men were Varos's. 2 days ago, they were burning towns for him, killing for him. And now they're here. Why? Because Riven gave them a choice, something Varos never did. She pointed to the Greystone wolves. "And them? They're from my pack. A pack that hates outsiders, hates kings. But they're here. Because Riven didn't demand loyalty. He earned it." She turned back to Kara. "You want proof? That's your proof. People don't follow tyrants out of choice. They follow leaders. And Riven's a leader." The chamber was silent. Then Kara smiled. "You've got fire," she said. "I'll give you that." "I've got desperation," Mara said. "It's not the same thing." "Close enough." Kara looked at the other council members. "Vote," she said. One by one, they raised their hands, 4 in favor, 1 against. Kara stood. "The eastern provinces will support you, but on one condition." "What condition?" Riven asked. "When you take back your throne, we stay independent. No taxes, no tributes, no bowing. Done. Just like that? Just like that." Kara studied him. "You're either very brave or very stupid." "I've heard that before." She laughed. "I think I like you, King." "Don't call me that yet." "Why not?" "Because I haven't earned it." Kara's smile widened. "You're right. You haven't." She held out her hand. "But you will." They shook. And just like that, the eastern provinces joined the war. They left the fortress with 200 more soldiers. Not much, but enough. Enough to make a difference. Riven pulled Mara aside as they mounted their horses. "That was incredible," he said. "That was luck." "It was more than luck." "Maybe." He looked at her, really looked at her. "You saved us," he said. "Again." "Stop counting." "Why?" "Because we're not done yet." "I know." They rode back through the mountains, through the burned town, through the territories that had just sworn to help them. And Mara felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Hope. Not the fragile kind. Not the desperate kind. The real kind. The kind that came from winning. From proving people wrong. from standing in the fire and coming out the other side. They reached the rendezvous point 2 days later. Seren was waiting, with her 500 soldiers and another 300 she'd picked up along the way. "You're late," she said. "We ran into some trouble," Riven said. "Did you win the provinces?" "Most of them." Seren grinned. "Good, because we're going to need them." "Why?" "Because Varos knows we're coming. He's fortifying the capital, calling in reinforcements. We've got maybe a week before he turns that city into a fortress we can't breach. Then we move now." "Agreed." Seren looked at Mara. "You did good. I heard what happened. News travels fast." "It does when you flip a mercenary commander." Seren's grin widened. "That was smart. Risky, but smart. I'm learning." "Good. Because the next part's going to be worse." "How much worse?" "We're marching on the capital against 3,000 men with less than 1,500. That's suicide." "It's strategy," Seren said. Mara laughed. She couldn't help it. "Everyone keeps saying that." "Because it's true." They gathered the army, all of them. Mercenaries, wolves, loyalists, provincials. An army built from scraps and promises and desperation, but an army nonetheless. Riven stood on a ridge overlooking them, Mara beside him. "You think we can win?" she asked. "I don't know," he said. "That's not reassuring." "It's honest." Mara looked at the soldiers, at the people willing to die for a man who'd been hiding in her pack 3 weeks ago. "They believe in you," she said. "They believe in you," Riven corrected. "You're the one who convinced them." "We convinced them," Riven smiled. "Yeah, we did." He took her hand, and they stood there, watching the army gather, knowing that in a week they'd either be dead or crowned. There was no middle ground, not anymore. The war had begun. And this time, they were ready. The capital sat in the valley like a wound. Mara had never seen Valrix before, never imagined it. In her mind, it had been something grand, shining, the kind of place that made you understand why people fought for it. She was wrong. The walls were high, black stone, scarred from old battles. The gates were closed, barred, and on the ramparts soldiers moved like ants, too many to count. 3,000, Seren said. She stood beside Mara on the ridge, studying the city through a spyglass. "Maybe more. Varos has been busy." "Can we take it?" Mara asked. "Not head on. We'd lose half our people before we even reached the gates." "Then what do we do?" Seren lowered the spyglass, looked at Riven. He was standing apart from them, staring at the city like it was something that might vanish if he looked away. His city, his home, his prison. "We do what we planned," Seren said. "We wait for nightfall. We hit them from 3 sides. We make them think we have more than we do. And if it doesn't work, then we die trying." Mara was getting tired of that answer. Riven walked back to them. His face was stone, unreadable. "How long until dark?" he asked. 4 hours, maybe 5. "Good. That gives us time." "Time for what?" Riven looked at Mara. "Time for you to leave." She stared at him. "What?" "You're not staying for this." "The hell I'm not." "Mara, we're not having this argument again." Her voice was hard. "I'm staying. This isn't like the provinces. This is a siege. People are going to die." "I know. You could be one of them. So could you." Riven's jaw tightened. "I'm the king. I have to be here. And I'm your wife. So do I." They stared at each other. Seren coughed. "I'm going to check the perimeter. You two figure this out." She left. Riven waited until she was out of earshot. Then, "I can't lose you," he said. The words came out raw, desperate. Mara's chest tightened. "You won't. You don't know that. Neither do you." "Mara, listen to me." She grabbed his arm, made him look at her. "I didn't come this far to run now. I didn't stand in that hall. Didn't ride through a blizzard. Didn't convince Drake and Kara and half the eastern provinces to follow you just to hide when things got hard. This isn't hard. This is suicide." "Then we die together." Riven looked at her like she'd just stabbed him. "You're insane," he said. "You've said that before." "I'm saying it again." Mara smiled. It felt wrong, out of place, but real. "I'm staying," she said. Deal with it. Riven closed his eyes, took a breath. Fine, he said. But you stay with me. You don't go off on your own. You don't take risks. I'll try. That's not good enough. It's all you're getting. He almost smiled. Almost. Then he pulled her close, wrapped his arms around her. She let him. Thank you, he said quietly, for everything. Stop thanking me. We haven't won yet. I know. They stood there for a long time, holding each other, stealing whatever moment they could before the world caught fire. Then Seren came back. We've got a problem, she said. Riven pulled away. What kind of problem? The kind with a white flag, she pointed. A rider was approaching, alone, unarmed, carrying a banner of truce. Riven's face went hard. Varos, you think he wants to negotiate? No, he wants to gloat. They met the rider at the base of the ridge, Riven, Mara, Seren, Drake, and 20 soldiers. The rider was young, nervous. He kept his hands where they could see them. Lord Varos requests an audience, he said. Tell Varos to go to hell, Riven said. He said you'd say that. He also said to tell you he has hostages. Riven went still. What hostages? The rider swallowed. The remaining council members, the ones who survived the purge. He's holding them in the throne room. Says if you attack, he'll execute them. He's lying. He's not. I saw them. They're alive, barely, but alive. Riven looked at Seren. How many council members were left? 3, maybe 4, and Varos has them. Apparently, Riven cursed. What does he want? Mara asked. The rider looked at her. He wants the king to surrender, publicly. In exchange, he'll let the hostages go. He's lying, Seren said. Probably, Riven agreed, but I have to try. You can't be serious. I'm not letting them die. They're already dead. Varos just hasn't killed them yet. Then I'll buy them time. Seren grabbed his arm. If you walk in there, you're not walking out. I know. Riven, I have to try. Mara stepped forward. Then I'm coming with you. No. Yes. Mara, but if you're walking into a trap, I'm walking into it with you. Riven looked at her like she'd lost her mind. Maybe she had. Fine, he said, but we bring soldiers. How many? The rider asked. 10. Lord Varos said you could bring 5. Then tell Lord Varos to negotiate. The rider hesitated, then nodded. I'll ask. He rode back to the city. Seren looked at Riven. You're making a mistake. Probably. This is a trap. I know. And you're still going. Yes. Why? Riven looked at the city, at the walls, at the gates. Because if I don't, he said, I'm no better than him. An hour later, the gates opened, not all the way, just enough for a delegation to pass through. Riven rode at the front, Mara beside him, 10 graystone wolves behind them, all armed, all ready. The streets were empty, silent, like the city was holding its breath. Mara could feel eyes on them, watching from windows, from shadows. The people of Valrix waiting to see if their king was a coward or a fool. Maybe both. The palace loomed ahead. White stone turned gray with age and smoke. Tall spires, broken windows. It looked like it had been beautiful once. Not anymore. They dismounted in the courtyard. Guards surrounded them immediately. 30, maybe more, all wearing Varos's colors. Your weapons, one of them said. Riven handed over his sword. The wolves growled but did the same. Mara didn't have a weapon to surrender. They were led inside. The throne room was exactly what Mara had imagined. High ceilings, stained glass, a throne at the far end carved from black stone, and sitting on it was Lord Varos. He was older than Mara expected, gray-haired, soft around the middle. He didn't look like a tyrant, he looked like someone's grandfather. That made it worse somehow. Riven, Varos said. His voice was warm, friendly. It's good to see you. I wish I could say the same. Varos smiled. Still angry about the poison? I told you it was nothing personal. You tried to kill me. I tried to remove you. There's a difference. Not to me. Varos waved a hand. Details. The point is, you survived. Congratulations. Where are the hostages? Riven demanded. Right here. Varos gestured. Guards dragged 3 people forward, 2 men, 1 woman, all beaten, bloodied, barely standing. Mara recognized one of them from the descriptions Riven had given her. Lord Theron's brother. Younger, thinner, but alive. Barely. Let them go, Riven said. Of course, as soon as you surrender. I'm here. That's surrender enough. No? Varos leaned forward. I want you to kneel. I want you to say the words. I want everyone to know that you gave up. And then you'll let them go. I will. You're lying. Maybe, but you'll never know unless you try. Riven's hands clenched. Mara could see the calculation in his eyes. The weight of it. Kneel and maybe save 3 lives, or refuse and definitely lose them. It wasn't a choice. It was a trap. Don't, Mara said quietly. Riven looked at her. He's going to kill them anyway, she said. And you. I know. Then don't kneel. I have to. Why? Because someone has to. The same words, again. Mara wanted to scream. Riven stepped forward, dropped to one knee. The room went silent. I surrender, Riven said. Let them go. Varos smiled. See, that wasn't so hard. He gestured to the guards. They raised their weapons, not toward the hostages, toward Riven. You said you'd let them go, Riven said. I lied. The guards moved. Mara didn't think, just threw herself in front of Riven. Wait! Everyone stopped. Varos raised an eyebrow. The wife wants to speak? How charming. I have information, Mara said. About what? About your son. The room went cold. Varos's smile faded. What did you say? Your son, Drayton. I know where he is. Varos stood, slowly. You're lying. I'm not. He's been missing for months. You couldn't possibly. He's in the eastern provinces, hiding, under the name Kael. The blood drained from Varos's face. Mara kept going. He didn't die in the ambush like you told everyone. He survived, and he's been with Riven the whole time. It was a lie, a complete, desperate lie. But Mara had seen the way Varos reacted when she said the name, had seen the crack in his armor, and she was betting everything on it. You're lying, Varos said again, but his voice shook. Am I? Mara looked at the guards, at the hostages, at Varos. Your son hates you. Did you know that? He told us everything about how you used him, how you threw him away when he wasn't useful anymore. Stop. He's the one who told us about the poison, about the coup, about all of it. I said, stop. Varos's voice echoed through the room. Mara took a breath. He's alive, she said quietly, and he's coming for you. Varos stared at her. Then he started laughing, not the friendly kind, the broken kind. You almost had me, he said. You almost made me believe it. It's true. No, it's not. Because my son is dead. I killed him myself. The room went silent. Even the guards looked shocked. Varos sat back down, heavily. He was weak, he said. Soft. He questioned me, doubted me, so I had him dealt with. He looked at Mara. You thought you could use him against me. Clever. But you picked the wrong leverage. Mara's heart was pounding. She'd gambled and lost. But then, one of the guards stepped forward. You killed Drayton? He asked. Varos frowned. Of course. I just said that. You told us he died in an ambush. I lied. What does it matter? The guard looked at the other soldiers. Something passed between them. It matters, the guard said, because half of us are here because we believe Drayton was a hero. Because you told us he died fighting for the kingdom. He died because he was weak. He was your son. He was a liability. The guard's jaw tightened. Then he dropped his weapon. I'm done, he said. Another guard did the same. Then another. Varos stood. What are you doing? We're not dying for a man who kills his own son, the first guard said. You swore an oath. To the kingdom, not to you. Varos looked around the room, at the guards lowering their weapons, at the hostages staring at him in horror, at Riven and Mara standing together. You're all traitors, he said. No, Riven said. He stood, slowly. We're the ones who stopped following one. Varos's face twisted. He reached for a sword at his belt. The guards were faster. They surrounded him, disarmed him, forced him to his knees. Varos struggled, screamed, cursed. It didn't matter. He'd lost. Riven walked forward, looked down at the man who'd tried to destroy him. You're done, he said. You can't do this. I'm a lord. I have rights. You gave up your rights when you poisoned me, when you killed the council, when you murdered your own son. Riven turned to the guards. Lock him up. He'll stand trial. Trial? Varos laughed, bitter, broken. You think a trial will fix this? You think the kingdom will just accept you back? I don't know, Riven said, but I'm going to try. He gestured to the hostages. Get them out of here. Get them help. The guards moved. Varos was dragged away, still screaming. The throne room emptied, until it was just Riven and Mara, standing in the silence. That was insane, Riven said. I know. You lied about his son. I know. You had no idea if it would work. I know. Riven looked at her. How did you know he'd react like that? I didn't. I just saw the way he flinched when I said the name. And I gambled. You gambled our lives. Yes. And it worked. Barely. Riven pulled her close, kissed her, hard. When he pulled back, his eyes were shining. You saved us, he said. Again. Stop counting. Never. The doors opened. Saren walked in, followed by Drake, followed by soldiers, hundreds of them. We heard shouting, Saren said. Thought you might be dead. Not yet, Riven said. Good, because the city's surrendering. What? Word spread about Varos, about what he did. The soldiers are laying down their weapons. The people are opening the gates. Saren smiled. You won. Riven looked around the throne room, at the broken windows, the bloodstains, the throne that had cost so many lives. We won, he said. The next 3 days were chaos, arresting Varos's loyalists, freeing prisoners, rebuilding the council, opening the treasury, what was left of it, to start paying debts. Mara barely slept. She worked beside Riven, listening, watching, learning. And she saw things he didn't. A councilman who smiled too much when Varos's name was mentioned. A general who avoided eye contact. A treasurer who couldn't explain where half the gold had gone. She made lists, kept notes, started asking questions, and slowly, piece by piece, she uncovered the rot Varos had left behind. On the 4th day, Riven called a council meeting. The room was packed. Nobles, soldiers, merchants, everyone who'd survived the coup and everyone who'd helped end it. Riven stood at the head of the table. We need to rebuild, he said. Not just the city, the kingdom, the trust. How? One of the nobles asked. By being honest, by being transparent, by making sure what happened with Varos never happens again. And how do we do that? Riven looked at Mara. She stood. By changing the system, she said. Everyone stared. Right now, Mara continued, power is concentrated. The king decides everything. The council advises. But there's no accountability, no checks. Varos proved that. What are you suggesting? The noble asked. I'm suggesting we split the power, create a council that doesn't just advise, but votes on laws, on taxes, on war. The king still leads, but he doesn't rule alone. That's insane, another noble said. The crown has held power for centuries. And look where it got us, Mara said. A tyrant on the throne and half the kingdom dead. Silence. She's right, Riven said. Everyone turned to stare at him. I don't want this kind of power, he said. I don't trust myself with it. So we change it. We build something better. You're the king, the noble said. You don't give up power. I'm not giving it up. I'm sharing it. That's the same thing. No, Riven said. It's not. He looked around the room. Vote, he said. Stay with the old system, or try something new. One by one, they voted. It wasn't unanimous, but it was enough. The council was restructured, power was redistributed, and for the first time in Valrix's history, the king didn't rule alone. The coronation happened 2 weeks later, not in the throne room, in the courtyard, where everyone could see. Riven wore simple clothes, no crown, no jewels, just him. Mara stood beside him, in a dress someone had found in the palace. Blue, plain, nothing special. She didn't care. Seren performed the ceremony, short, efficient. No unnecessary words. "Do you swear to lead?" she asked. "I do," Riven said. "Do you swear to protect?" "I do." "Do you swear to serve?" "I do." Seren placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then you are king, again." The crowd cheered, not the polite kind, the real kind. Loud, messy, joyful. Riven turned to Mara. "Your turn," he said. "What?" Seren stepped forward, held out a second circlet. Silver. Simple. "You're the queen," she said. "Act like it." Mara stared at the circlet, then at Riven. "I don't know how to be a queen," she said. "Good," Riven said. "Neither did I when I became king." That's not reassuring. It's honest. Mara took the circlet, placed it on her head. The crowd cheered again, louder this time. Mara looked out at them, at the faces, the hope, and realized something. She wasn't the girl from Greystone anymore. The one everyone mocked, the one everyone dismissed. She was someone else now. Someone who'd walked into fire and come out stronger. Someone who'd changed a kingdom. A queen. The feast lasted hours. Food, drink, music. Mara slipped away halfway through. Needed air, needed quiet. She found a balcony overlooking the city. The lights were coming back on, slowly, one by one. "You okay?" Riven's voice. She turned. He was standing in the doorway. Still in his simple clothes, still without a crown. "I'm fine," she said. "Liar." She almost smiled. "I'm fine. Just thinking." "About what?" "About how we got here." Riven stepped onto the balcony, stood beside her. "We got here," he said, "because you didn't give up. We got here because you let me help." "Same thing." Mara looked at him. "You keep saying that." "Because it's true." They stood in silence, then, "What happens now?" Mara asked. "We rebuild." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." Mara laughed, quiet, tired. "You're a terrible king," she said. "I know. You make promises you can't keep." "I know. And you're going to drive me insane." "Probably." She took his hand. "But you're trying," she said. "And that's more than most." Riven's fingers tightened around hers. "Thank you," he said, "for everything." "Stop thanking me." "Never." They stood there, watching the city come back to life. And Mara thought about the wedding, about the mockery, about the girl who'd walked into a hall alone and walked out with a stranger. That girl was gone. In her place was someone new, someone stronger, braver, angrier, someone who'd survived a war, who'd changed a kingdom, who'd proven everyone wrong. A queen, not the kind who ruled from a throne, the kind who rebuilt from the ashes. And as the lights flickered on across Valrix, Mara made a promise. Not to Riven, not to the kingdom, to herself. She would never be dismissed again, never be mocked, never be powerless. She would fight, she would lead, she would change things. And if anyone tried to stop her, well, they'd learn the same lesson Varos had. That power didn't come from blood or birthright or strength. It came from knowing when to stand, when to speak, when to fight, and when to burn everything down and start over. Riven pulled her close. "Ready to go back?" he asked. "Not yet," Mara said. "Good. Neither am I." They stayed on the balcony until the stars came out, until the city was quiet, until the war felt like a memory instead of a wound. And when they finally went back inside, they went together. Not as king and subject, not as ruler and ruled, as equals, as partners, as two people who'd walked through hell and somehow found each other on the other side. The kingdom would need them tomorrow, would need rebuilding, would need healing. But tonight was theirs, and that was enough.